"Sir, wait!" she cried, snatching the papers right off his plate. Coffee spilled. The pen rolled to the floor. "What are you doing?" he barked, half standing, half frozen. The diner went silent. Forks paused. Conversations cut off. Rain hammered the windows like applause from ghosts. Her voice dropped to a whisper that somehow filled the room. "That's not your signature." His eyes narrowed, pulse thudding. "Excuse me? Maybe you've never saved a stranger's life, but you've probably seen someone slipping under the weight of their own mistakes. This story will stir a small part of you, the part that still believes people can change, that love can rise out of wreckage. Before you continue, subscribe, not for me, but for every soul who ever needed one more person to believe they could begin again. Now, let's begin. The storm outside had the gray look of a world about to end. Daniel Cross, once Atlanta's brightest business icon, sat in a cracked vinyl booth of a Waffle House off I-285, the kind of place where dreams and debts both came cheap. His lawyer was late, his stomach empty, and his life already halfway gone. He checked the time, 7:52 a.m. At 8 sharp, he'd sign the papers that would make his bankruptcy official. The once glorious Cross Industries, valued at billions just a year ago, would become a footnote in financial disaster blogs. He rubbed his temple and stared at the packet again. Bankruptcy petition. Final execution copy. Every line looked sterile and sharp. He'd memorized them. But the signature line blurred through his fatigue, the same signature that had once sealed mergers, contracts, and magazine covers. He'd thought he had no tears left, but they were there hiding behind his practiced calm. Across the counter, Nia Carter worked the morning shift, trying to keep her head clear. Bills, her daughter's asthma meds, rent due Friday, everything pressed down. But she noticed him the second he walked in. Expensive watch, unshaven face, a sadness that didn't belong in a Waffle House. "Coffee?" she asked, sliding a mug toward him. He nodded. "Please." His voice was sandpaper. Nia had seen his face before. Years ago, Channel 2 News had run a story about Atlanta's youngest tech visionary. There was even a framed newspaper clipping of him shaking hands with the mayor, hanging right there near the cash register. She poured the coffee, glanced down, and froze. His signature, the one on the newspaper photo, looped wide on the D and slashed upward on the C. The one on his papers, tight, angular, wrong. For a moment, she thought her mind was playing tricks, but her eyes didn't lie. "Sir," she said quietly, "can I ask you something?" He looked up, tired. "If it's about the waffles, they're fine." "No, it's not that." She hesitated, then leaned closer. "That's not your signature." He blinked. "What?" She pointed. "Right there. The way your C curls in the paper, it's different. You sign like this." She gestured midair. "I saw it once. On that picture over there." He turned to look. His younger self smiled from the frame on the wall, hand extended in success. His signature beneath it glimmered in faded gold ink. His chest tightened. "That's ridiculous." But he looked closer at the papers. And suddenly, ridiculous didn't feel so impossible. The loops were wrong. The tilt, the line spacing, subtle, but off. He felt a chill crawl down his spine. The bell over the door jingled. His lawyer, Calvin Rudd, tall, polished and sweating despite the cold, stepped in, briefcase clutched like a weapon. "Apologies for the delay," Calvin said, flashing an uneasy smile. "Traffic on Peachtree's a nightmare." He slid into the booth and flipped the papers open. "All ready for your signature, Dan. Just need to make it official before the court closes today." Nia stood back, wiping her hands on her apron. Daniel hesitated. You didn't sign these already?" Calvin's brow furrowed. "Of course not. These are clean copies. Why?" Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper. "Because somebody already did." The air in the diner changed. Rain on glass, coffee hissing on the burner. Everything else faded. Calvin frowned deeper, eyes darting between them. "You feeling all right?" Nia's heart pounded. She stepped forward again. "He's not crazy. That signature, someone forged it. Look for yourself." Calvin leaned closer, lips tightening. "Ma'am, with respect, you're not qualified to," Daniel interrupted, snapping the folder shut. "I've signed 1,000 contracts in my life, Calvin. I know my own signature." Calvin's expression didn't flicker. "If that's true, we'll look into it back at the office. But for now, No," Daniel said, standing. His chair screeched across the tile. "For now, we're not signing a damn thing." The diner went silent. Nia felt the tremor in her hands. She hadn't meant to cause a scene, but something inside her refused to stay quiet. Daniel turned to her. "Thank you." She shook her head. "I just couldn't watch you sign something wrong." As he gathered his things, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. He opened it. One sentence glared back. "You were supposed to sign by 8 o'clock. Now it's too late." He looked up. Through the window, a black SUV idled under the neon glow, engine running. Some people stay quiet when they notice something's off. Others speak up and change a life. If you'd be the one to speak, maybe stories like this deserve to stay alive with you. Keep our stories alive by subscribing. Rain kept drumming on the Waffle House windows as Daniel stared at the message glowing on his phone. "You were supposed to sign by 8 o'clock. Now it's too late." He looked up. The black SUV still idled under the flickering neon sign, wipers sweeping in steady rhythm. Nia followed his gaze, the tray shaking slightly in her hands. "Who's that?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He just grabbed his coat. "Come with me." "Excuse me?" "Please." His voice was tight, urgent but polite, the kind of tone that made people move before they understood why. She hesitated only a second before untying her apron. "Let me tell my manager I'm taking my break." They stepped out into the storm together, rain soaking through her sneakers as thunder rolled across the Georgia sky. Daniel unlocked his car, a silver Mercedes that looked out of place in the cracked parking lot. The SUV's headlights flared once, then dimmed again. Inside the car, he turned on the wipers. "You saw that text," he said quietly. "Somebody's watching me." Nia folded her arms. "I'm not sure I signed up for this movie." He almost smiled. "Neither did I." The smile vanished as the SUV eased out of its spot and began to follow them. "Seatbelt," he said, starting the engine. They drove south, rain pounding the windshield. Nia tried to steady her breath. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere public, well lit." He took the next exit and pulled into a Publix parking lot, stopping beneath the green glow of the store sign. The SUV rolled past them slowly, then disappeared around the corner. For a moment, only the ticking of the engine filled the air. Nia turned toward him. "You think your lawyer set you up?" "I don't know," he said. "But that signature, if it's forged, someone's already using it, which means they've been inside my accounts, my filings, everything." She leaned forward. "Then you can prove it. Compare the signatures, the angles, pressure points." He blinked. "Pressure points?" She shrugged. I used to love handwriting analysis. Took an elective once at Georgia State. A flash of admiration crossed his face. You keep surprising me. Most people don't look long enough to find out, she said. Their eyes met, the silence thick with thunder outside and something else inside. The strange recognition that two people from different worlds were suddenly fighting the same invisible enemy. He broke the moment. I need to confront Calvin. He's the only one who handled those papers. Nia stared at him. Then you're not going alone. By the time they reached Calvin Rudd's downtown office, the rain had slowed to a mist. The glass tower loomed dark against the afternoon sky. Daniel swiped his keycard. The reader beeped red, locked. He frowned. He's always here? They circled to the garage entrance. Calvin's sleek BMW was gone. Through the lobby glass, they could see the reception lights still glowing, but inside, nothing. No security, no movement. Daniel pressed his hand to the door, then spotted an envelope taped to the inside of the glass, his name written in bold black marker, Cross. They managed to slip inside through a side service door propped with a cleaning rag. The office smelled of burnt coffee and ozone. Daniel grabbed the envelope and tore it open. A single flash drive fell into his palm, along with a note. You were never meant to find this. His pulse kicked. He plugged the drive into his laptop, balanced on the edge of a conference room table. Files bloomed across the screen. Contracts, wire transfers, scanned letters bearing his signature. Except they weren't his. Every one of them authorized multi-million-dollar asset sales from Cross Industries to a shell company named DRC Holdings, LLC. Nia scrolled through the documents. Who owns DRC Holdings? Daniel froze. Calvin Rudd Consulting, DRC. Her eyes widened. He's been stealing from you, under your own initials. He sank back in the chair, disbelief hardening into fury. He didn't just steal. He used me to clean it. He filed the bankruptcy so no one would look for the missing funds. Nia clicked to the next file and gasped. Wait, who's Emily Cross? He swallowed. My wife. She passed 2 years ago. The document on screen bore Emily's digital signature. Co-authorization. Emily Cross. That's impossible, he whispered. Nia whispered, then somebody's been forging her name too. He felt his throat tighten. They're erasing her for profit. Thunder rumbled again, closer this time, echoing through the glass. Daniel, Nia said gently, you can't stay here. Whoever's behind this knows you've seen it. He looked at her, really looked. You didn't have to come with me, but you did. She smiled faintly. Maybe I was tired of watching bad things happen and pretending not to see. Something raw flickered between them. Not romance yet, but the beginning of trust. The fragile spark that feels like hope after a long night. They gathered the laptop and files, hurrying back to the car. As Daniel started the engine, headlights flashed behind them. The same black SUV rolled out of a nearby alley. Hold on, he said. They sped through the wet streets, the SUV keeping distance but never vanishing. Finally, Daniel veered into a busy gas station lot and cut the lights. The other vehicle cruised past, slow, deliberate, before turning down a side street. Nia exhaled hard, trembling. So, this is my life now? He looked over, voice low. No, it's ours, until we fix this. She stared out the windshield, rain streaking the glass like veins of light. You really believe that? He nodded. I have to, and tomorrow morning we'll prove it. I know someone who can verify every signature, an old family attorney. But we'll need to keep you safe tonight. Safe? She echoed, half smiling through fear. I work night shifts at a diner, Daniel. Danger doesn't scare me anymore. He smiled back, a small, grateful thing. Then maybe I finally met my match. Outside, lightning split the sky open over Atlanta, and for one breathless moment, the reflection of that light painted both their faces, two strangers bound by a forged signature, a dead woman's ghost, and a truth too dangerous to ignore. If you've ever stood beside someone when the whole world told you to walk away, you know how heavy loyalty feels. Maybe that's why you're still here, listening, because part of you still believes people like this deserve to make it out alive. By dawn, Atlanta had turned silver. The rain was gone, but the air felt charged, the kind that hums before another storm. Daniel parked outside a brick building in Buckhead, a law office that looked too old to belong in a city of glass towers. The carved plaque read, Edward Rayner, Attorney at Law. He turned to Nia. This man knew my father. He'll tell us the truth. Nia nodded, clutching her jacket tight. Let's finish this. Inside, the air smelled of books and lemon polish. Edward Rayner, a tall man with white hair and eyes sharp as his suit, looked up from behind his desk. Daniel Cross, he said, standing. I heard rumors, but I didn't believe them. Daniel placed the laptop and forged documents on the desk. I need you to verify these signatures, especially Emily's. Edward slipped on his glasses. His brow furrowed as he clicked through the files, each one reflecting blue light across his face. After a long silence, he said quietly, These weren't forged by your lawyer. Daniel froze. Then who? Edward turned the screen. They were generated through an internal authorization system, one that only you and Emily had access to. Daniel's heart stopped. That's impossible. Emily's gone. Maybe not. Edward tapped a file. These e-signatures were created 2 months ago from your home IP address. Nia whispered, 2 months ago, but she died 2 years ago, Daniel said, his voice breaking. What are you saying? Edward hesitated, then opened another document, a video feed capture from Daniel's estate server. The timestamp read 7:42 p.m. September 4th. The footage showed a dimly lit study. A figure sat at Daniel's old computer, a woman, hair pulled back, slender hands typing. Nia covered her mouth. Oh my God. Daniel leaned closer. The woman turned slightly toward the camera, her face blurry but unmistakable. Emily. He stumbled backward, breath catching. That's not real, that's a fake. Edward's voice softened. I wish it were. The room tilted. Everything he'd buried, grief, guilt, loneliness, roared back, crushing him. She was supposed to be gone, he whispered. There was a crash. I identified her. Nia touched his arm, steadying him. Daniel, look at me. Whether that's her or someone using her name, you can't lose yourself now. He met her eyes. If it's her, that means she helped take everything. Or someone's using her to break you, she said quietly. A low hum interrupted them, the buzz of a phone on the desk. Edward glanced down, frowned, then turned pale. They're inside my system, he said. The office lights flickered. The computer screen went black. Then a message appeared in red text. Stop digging or she dies. Edward yanked the flash drive free. They've traced us here. You two need to leave, now. Daniel grabbed the files, but Edward caught his wrist. Listen to me, this goes deeper than Calvin. He's small time. Whoever's behind this runs your entire trust. They're selling your assets overseas, laundering through shell charities in your late wife's name. Nia's voice trembled. So this isn't about money, it's about burying him. Edward nodded. And whoever that woman on the video is, she's the key. The hallway outside creaked. Shadows moved under the door. Edward turned to them. Go through the back exit. I'll stall them. Daniel shook his head. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are, Edward snapped. If they find you here, it's over. Take the girl and run. Don't call her that, Daniel said quietly. Her name is Nia. She looked at him, a flash of warmth in the fear. Edward shoved the flash drive into Daniel's hand. Find the truth. Don't come back here. As they slipped into the alley behind the building, voices rose inside, sharp, urgent. Then a muffled crash. Nia flinched. Did they? Don't look back, Daniel said, pulling her toward the car. They drove in silence, the city blurring past in streaks of gray. His hands shook on the wheel. Finally, he whispered, If Emily's alive, I need to see her. Nia stared at him. Daniel, no. Whoever's using her name just tried to kill us. You can't walk into that. She was my wife, he said. If she's alive, I have to face her. Nia's eyes filled. Even if it kills you. He looked at her, voice raw. Some ghosts don't let you live until you look them in the eye. The car rolled to a stop at a red light. Outside, a billboard flickered. A charity gala advertisement. The Emily Cross Foundation, restoring lives across Georgia. And beneath it, the date. Tonight, 8 p.m. Daniel's breath caught. That's her signature. Nia followed his gaze. She's here. For the first time, fear and heartbreak shared the same space on his face. She never died, he whispered. She built this. She took everything. He rested his head against the steering wheel. Rain starting again. Soft, relentless. Nia reached out, her fingers trembling as she touched his sleeve. Then let me help you finish this. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared through the windshield at the endless Georgia rain, as if it could wash away what he'd just seen. The light turned green, but neither of them moved. In that moment, all the noise of the city fell away, leaving only the sound of his breath breaking, and hers trying to steady him. Two people caught between betrayal and truth, love and loss, life and the ghost that refused to stay buried. And somewhere behind the storm, headlights found them again. The same black SUV. This time, it didn't keep its distance. The night came down slow and heavy over Atlanta. Downtown shimmered with rain-slick reflections as Daniel and Nia pulled into the valet lane of the Peachtree Heights estate, where the Emily Cross Foundation Gala blazed across every marquee. Cameras flashed, strings played. It looked like salvation dressed in champagne. From the car window, Daniel stared at the banner with his late wife's name glittering above the doors. Emily Cross, restoring lives. He whispered, She turned my funeral into a fundraiser. Nia squeezed his hand. Then let's bring the truth inside. They stepped out together, clothes damp from the misting rain, blending with guests in tailored suits and sequined gowns. No one noticed the waitress in a borrowed black dress, or the man they thought was long gone. Inside, the ballroom throbbed with low music and the murmur of wealth. At the podium stood Calvin Rudd, smiling for cameras, speaking of Daniel Cross's lasting legacy. Daniel's jaw tightened. Nia's eyes flicked to a side table lined with tablets displaying the charity's digital ledgers. She whispered, Look, every donation routes through DRC Holdings. He's laundering it live. Before Daniel could move, two security men appeared, whispering into earpieces. Calvin spotted him mid-speech. For the first time, the lawyer's polished smile faltered. "Ladies and gentlemen," he stammered, "please excuse me a moment." He met Daniel halfway across the ballroom. "You shouldn't be here." Daniel's voice stayed calm. "Funny, that's what you wrote on your note." Calvin's eyes darted toward Nia. "And you brought help. How touching." Nia lifted her phone. "We backed up your drive, Calvin. Every forged transfer, every signature." The color drained from his face. "You don't understand. It wasn't me. I was following orders." Daniel frowned. "Whose?" Calvin glanced toward the far wall where a massive portrait of Emily Cross hung, her painted smile calm, almost knowing. "She built this," he whispered, "but not the woman you buried. Her name was used by investors overseas. They built a persona, a digital Emily, to control the assets under her foundation. She never existed after the crash." Daniel felt the room tilt again. But this time it wasn't grief. It was release. "So she really is gone." Calvin nodded, trembling. "And if you expose them, they'll bury you both." Nia stepped closer. "Then let's give them no place to hide." She pressed send. Across the ballroom, every tablet screen flickered. The ledgers opened publicly, numbers spilling across the giant monitor above the stage. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Reporters raised cameras. Calvin turned white. Within minutes, alarms blared. Guests scattered as federal agents, tipped off by the automatic data upload Nia had scheduled earlier, entered through the lobby. Calvin tried to slip away, but Daniel stopped him with a single look. "Tell them everything." As the chaos unfolded, Daniel and Nia slipped out a side door into the cool Georgia night. Rain had started again, softer now, like applause fading in the distance. They stood under the awning, breath visible in the mist. For the first time since dawn, silence didn't feel dangerous. Nia leaned against the pillar. "So, what happens now?" Daniel let out a shaky laugh. "Maybe I start over, with someone who reminds me the world isn't all sharks and signatures." She smiled. "You mean me?" "I mean the woman who saw what no one else did." He reached out, brushing a stray curl from her cheek. "You saved my life twice, Nia, once at that diner, and again tonight." Her eyes shimmered. "Guess we're even then." He shook his head. "Not even close." For a moment, neither spoke. The rain slowed to a whisper, the city's heartbeat steady again. Then he took a step closer, hands trembling, not from fear this time, but from everything unsaid. "Thank you," he murmured. She looked up at him, voice barely a breath. "For what?" "For seeing me." Their lips met, not a movie kiss, not the ending of a fairy tale, but a quiet promise that after everything stolen, something real could still begin. When they pulled apart, blue lights reflected off the wet pavement as police cruisers arrived. Calvin was led away in handcuffs. The portrait of Emily Cross inside had already been covered with a white sheet. Daniel exhaled, shoulders finally lowering. "It's over." Nia shook her head gently. "No, it's starting." He smiled, small, tired, utterly free. "Then, let's find out what life looks like after surviving it." They walked toward the parking lot, shoes splashing through shallow puddles, the storm breaking behind them. Somewhere in the distance, dawn was trying again. "Thank you for staying with me until the very last moment of this story." If something in it, even a single glance, a breath, a heartbeat, reached you, then this story did what it was meant to do. Every view, every heartbeat that listens, keeps this little world of stories alive. So, before you go, take a quiet second. Become part of this journey. Subscribe, not just to follow a channel, but to stay connected to the next story waiting to speak to your heart. The next one goes even deeper, more truth, more love, more healing. And it's already waiting for you. Your next story begins right here.